Welcome back to the Corporate Detox Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda McWhorter, and today I am joined by my wonderful guest, Dwight Dale Miller. And Dwight, I'm going to have you introduce yourself today. We've had some really good conversation. I think that's probably the best way this episode's going to flow.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. I'm excited to be here and talk with everyone here. My background is interesting, right? I was once a corporate finance director. I did financial planning and analysis. I literally analyzed numbers for a living, right? My degree's in finance and I was a CPA. And I grew up in the paradigm where, you do well in school, you get a good job, get married and have 2.2 kids, right? And I did all that. I was doing fairly well, I guess. I got divorced twice, actually. And my kids are amazing. But at some point, living in this paradigm, I decided that all those social expectations I had of what we're supposed to do in life, I decided it was all BS. So I threw it all in the garbage. And literally the first thing I did is I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to follow my heart. Because my corporate life, the environment there was fairly toxic. Okay. And numbers are just numbers at the end of the day. I said, I'm going to follow my heart. And one of the things I wanted to do was write a book. I'd always wanted to write a book, but my mind told me, no one will buy it, no one will read it, it'll be a huge waste of time and energy, etc., and money, right? But I said, I want to write a book and I'm going to do it anyway, right? And along that journey, I also discovered healing and really went down that rabbit hole. And now I'm a master healer. I'm trained in multiple modalities. I created my own modality and coach people, and not just coaching you as how to make your life better, the life you want, but whatever resistance you have, I help you release that as well. So my life is totally transformed. I didn't even know anyone who did what I'm doing now several years ago, and life's kind of an adventure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely love that you went from working with numbers all the time to now helping people release things and healing, right? Like that to me is just such a testament to the fact that people can change at any time, right? Like we aren't just because we set out on a certain path does not mean that we have to continue on that path if that's not what lights us up.
Exactly. If you're not happy, all right, one of the questions I love to ask people, I'm like, Amanda, have you ever tried to make someone else happy?
Yeah,
How did that work out?
not well.
Right. So what does this mean, right? So who's going to make you happy, right? It has to be you.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were raised certain ways and we have all these expectations and perceptions, right? But at the end of the day, are you happy, right? And if you're not, and in my work, I've realized that most people are not, which is kind of sad,
Hmm.
but that gives me passion to, help people, right? And my whole story, I really suffered. It was real suffering and misery that got me to the point where I threw everything out the window, to be honest, right? I had a car accident. I had sciatica. I was suffering 24/7. My dad was dying of cancer at the same time, like all this stuff at the same time. And then I was going through the divorce, and then my pregnant wife, she moved away without me knowing. So my son was kind of taken from me, right? So I had all this emotional trauma going on that manifested into the physical trauma. So I learned a lot, right, about emotions and how I perceive life works now and how our health and well-being works. And it gave me great insight that I use to help people now. But you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. we just got to take back our power and um, take care of ourselves, right? Self-love, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. Being part of your story, like, I don't know. I laugh because I feel like sometimes when I have a guest on and I can like really relate to their story. And um for me, my car accident came after I left the corporate world, but that was one of the turning points in just my personal healing journey. I I had kind of gotten rid of that hustle mentality, but there was so much like inner work that I needed to do, and that accident was the catalyst to that. Um, I also went through a divorce when I was in the corporate world. I was pregnant at the time when I was going through all that. So like what you're saying really truly, and I know, we spoke before we started recording and I said, I don't know, I've had a tough week. I don't know if I want to focus on me in this podcast, but thank you for bringing that up because there are so many people that hold shame for what they've gone through, right? And I know for me, when life got tough and I had that corporate job, I just worked more. Like that's how I shoved everything down at the time was
Right?
just to consume myself in work. And, here I am years later, healing a lot of that trauma that was brought on at that time.
Yeah, and in this society, right, in the US, we work, 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 right? We live for work. We kind of worship money, and we're all
Yeah.
very busy and we have bills. And it's harder than ever right now, it seems like, right? Because everything costs more and the world is crazy. Um, and it's like you've got to make time for yourself. And like you said, your car accident, it gave you the time and space to work on yourself. That's how I view like an illness, right?
Mhm.
You realize like when you get sick, the world doesn't end, right? The things that had to get done still get done somehow, or maybe they weren't that as important or urgent as we thought they were, right?
Yeah.
Um, we have to make time and space for ourselves.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Absolutely. So can you give us a little glimpse into like the time when you decided just to throw it all away? Like get rid of all the expectations and, what everybody around you was doing and focusing on?
Yeah, it was really continuation. Like I wound up reconnecting with my son and his mother. We dated long distance because I was in Phoenix and she moved to Florida. Okay. And then we did that for a couple of years. And when that ended, that was really when I said, screw it. I literally did. I threw everything out the window and I said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Right. And I had started I had healers working on me at the time because I went to this seminar where I felt energy. It was a mind body technique, and there's like 400 people in the room, and these guys are doing their mind body technique thing, and it's like I could feel it, Amanda. I'm like, what the heck is that, right? I'm like, they do their thing on the stage way up there, and it's like I feel whatever shifting
Yeah.
inside of me. Okay. And that I was hooked. And I feel like life kept me away from that because if I had felt that earlier, I would have went earlier, right? And I didn't know anyone spiritual either. I feel like if I knew someone spiritual, the truth would have resonated and I would have shifted course earlier. But I
Yeah.
feel like I had to go through my suffering, and I've got four amazing children. So I have three daughters from my first marriage. Um, I had to do all that. So I view everything as perfect, at the end of the day. You've got to learn and you've got to go through things. But like you're describing, um, everyone is pretty much holding on to their past experiences and energies. And right, psychology tells us it's all about childhood. We're just trying to survive, right? And get through to the next day. We're so resilient and amazing. but we form these perceptions and subconscious programs. Our experiences make imprints on us energetically and emotionally. And then a lot of times we're very hard on ourselves. We judge ourselves or label ourselves. And you can undo all of that.
So how? How does someone undo all of that? Because I know for me, like energy work, I mean, like this was all stuff that was new to me. I could not feel energy for a while. And it really took a lot, for me, it took a lot of effort, right? To kind of get out of my head.
Mhm.
So how do our listeners, if they're listening to this, they're like, man, this is me. Like, walk us through what that looks like.
Okay. And I'll frame it a little bit. Like you might know someone who, when they get stressed, they might get tight neck or shoulder muscles, right? And this is just a super basic example that most of us experience where you're feeling the energy, the emotion, right? And then it affects the body. Okay. So when my son was taken from me, I was feeling all this emotional trauma, basically, or I don't like labels so much, but very strong emotions, right? Anger and resentment and betrayal and grief and loss, right? And pain, like emotional pain. So I was feeling that and I attracted the car accident, and that's how it manifested into my body. Okay. You see how it works. Okay. This is how powerful you are, Amanda. Like you can attract events. Like I believe I fully attracted my car accident. Some people might attract cancer, or they might fall down and have some kind of accident, right? The energy is first and then it affects the physical. So if you have the power to do that to your body, you have the power to undo it. Okay. And it's really simple. I always like to say, let's play, because the physical mind has the physical mind, the monkey mind, I call it, the brain has a hard time believing we're this powerful. Okay. And it essentially limits us. But if I say, Amanda, let's play and let's imagine or visualize, right? The mind doesn't step in and say, oh, this is something I need to protect you from or limit you, because we're just playing and imagining, right? It's no big deal. And this is how you get into, I'll call it the miracle or the magic. You can do things that the mind didn't think was possible.
Yeah,
Okay. So if you want, would you like to play a little bit?
I would love to.
Okay. I'm just going to have you visualize. For clients who meditate, you can go deeper in meditation to really get into the subconscious. It's basically a hypnosis level meditation I'll do. But I just want you to visualize. Um, Visualize a version of yourself. It could be an inner child when you were young. It could be you this week if you've had a rough week. You can literally visualize anything you want. It could not even, it could just be a representation of you. Okay. There's no limits. We're just playing and imagining. So whatever comes up for you, just go with it. Okay. Now I want you to imagine cords coming out of you. It could go to other people if you've had emotional experiences with other people lately or in the past, or the cords may go out into the distance. Okay. They may be different colors, they may be different textures. And these cords are going to represent the different emotions or energies. At some levels of the work I do, they can be agreements we have between each other and karma, but we'll keep it more simple. The universe can include whatever they want in this on our behalf. Okay. But we're just going to focus on the energy right now and the emotions. So if you've had a rough week, whatever you've been feeling or whatever's coming up for you in the audience right now, any negative emotions, I want you to imagine there's chords representing each of those feelings and energies. You don't have to figure out where it came from. I want you to start to gently release each one of those cords, gently pull it out. If it's attached to someone else on the other side, you can imagine it gently falls out of them. And I want you to feel and imagine and visualize the energy releasing with each one you release. I want you to give yourself permission to let it go. I want you to choose to love yourself and let it go. There's no reason to hold on to these old energies any longer. There's no reason to hold on to these past experiences any longer. Set yourself free. Choose to love yourself and let each one of these things go. And most people will notice they begin to feel lighter. They may feel something within their torso or body shifting. Ultimately, most people come to a more peaceful place. Are you feeling anything yourself?
I can feel the energy like around my arms right now.
Okay. Are there any emotions specifically that come up that you'd want to release right now?
Anger.
Okay. So I want you to imagine a big juicy cord for anger. And anyone in the audience, you can imagine a big juicy cord for whatever comes up for you, or multiple cords. There's no rules here. We're just playing. And I want you to choose to love yourself. And I want you to let that anger, that cord go. I want you to feel it release. You can visualize it moving out. And I can help energy move too. So I'm doing a little of that on my side just to help things move along. Okay, how does that feel now?
Tell you my stomach feels better, honestly.
Okay. So that's one way of releasing and visualizing. And again, you can be creative. If I had you scan your torso, do you have any tightness or resistance, anything else you might want to release? Any aches or pains or anything that gets your attention?
A little tightness in my shoulders.
Okay. So I'm going to do another type of visualization and release here. I'll call it a thought form. I think the guy I initially saw do this, he called it a thought form. So I want you to imagine that energy, what you're feeling in there. I want you to imagine if it were a shape, what shape is it? And it could be an object, it could be a shape of any kind. I've had people pull out hula hoops and objects and jewelry, and it can be anything. So can you give it a shape?
I can, yes.
Okay. You want to share the shape?
Yeah, it's like a brick.
Okay. So everyone in the audience, if you're feeling anything and playing along, find a shape for yours. Amanda's is a brick. What color is it?
It's a rust color.
A rust color. So we'll give it a color. Is it shiny or kind of dull?
Oh, mine is dull.
Okay, dull. The texture of it, the feel of it, is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it spiky?
Spiky.
All right. And is it hot, warm, or cold?
Cold.
Okay. So on the count of three, Amanda, we're going to reach in with imaginary fingertips, or you could tie a rope to it or a cord or whatever you want to play with. We're going to reach in and we're going to pull it out. 1, 2, 3, pull it out. Boom. So did you feel it change or move or shift?
I did.
All right. Is anything still there?
No, it's not.
Okay. Sometimes things will like, maybe it'll break up. Someone in the audience, you may have something a little left or it may have shifted. So you just do it again. You give it a shape, give it a color. Is it shiny or dull? Is it rough, smooth, or spiky? Is it hot, warm, or cold? You just give it sensory characteristics. Somehow it makes it more real. And then on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, pull it out. Boom. And it's almost always gone by the second time if it didn't go away on the first step.
Yeah.
And again, this is how powerful we are. It's just energy at the end of the day. I've had clients who've had chronic pain for years. I did this little game and it was totally gone. It's not going to happen every time, but as far as 100% release, but it's definitely possible. And almost everyone feels it. Okay. And it's almost always improved, just in a few minutes. That little exercise just takes a couple minutes. Right. And it's just play.
Mm.
For anyone who's spiritually inclined, like we're divine beings, we're beings of light, we command energy.
Yeah.
And it's these, like traditional Chinese medicine thousands of years ago, they mapped emotions to every organ of the body. They understood that our feelings are affecting our bodies and our health. Well, what we've just done here is showed you how powerful you are. You can release that energy. And when you release the energy, the body changes and you can spontaneously heal. And there's honestly no limits.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know how to explain it. It just is what it is.
The first, I shouldn't say the first time. The first time I ever had any energy work done, I was actually in the corporate world and I didn't understand it at all. I had a Reiki appointment and um it was amazing. Like I felt like my arms were floating while I was laying on that table. And it was great. But it was years before I dabbled with energy again, right? And when I opened my mind to it, I realized that truly that could have been something that helped me in the corporate world. It could
In
have
what
helped me
aspect?
heal. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was just so mind-blowing to me. So for anyone listening today, if you like maybe this was your first experience with any energy work, right? I have to tell you like truly open your mind to it because this can transform your day-to-day life. You don't have to leave the corporate world to experience this. You just have to be open to it. And it really could have changed so much for me, especially during the really, really, really hard times. Thank you for this.
You're welcome. I always you'll find I often say this is how powerful you are. because it's true. Like most of our society, it's mental, right? We're focused
Mhm.
on think positive. Okay. And I used to have all these affirmations I did, right? And then, and I had learned Reiki and Marielle, and the mind body technique was the emergence process and matrix energetics. Okay. And I would go to these healer trainings where it's all healers there. And Amanda, I'd look at them and I'd say, these people aren't fully healed yet, right? I can tell they have issues. When you do this work, you get to a point you can look at someone and you can tell if they have issues or not. Everyone has their stuff. Okay. But the healers need healing, right? So I'm like, Amanda, I know there's something else. There has to be more. I'm missing something, right?
Mm.
And Phoenix is very spiritual. It's close to Sedona. There's 5 million people there. I went all around the city to all the events, and I didn't find what I was looking for. Okay. And then one day at an advanced training for the mind body technique, there was a guy there from Vancouver. And he wound up being my mentor for the next few years. And he taught me about, well, I'll put it this way. I went to a weekend event, a 3-day weekend there. And like an hour or two in, he does an inner child meditation. Okay. A very basic one. And I connected with my 8-year-old Dwight, who had some challenging experiences at the age of 8. Okay. And I had all these positive affirmations, and I knew how to release energy at the time from all my healing background. But when I was connected with this 8-year-old Dwight, I was weak, like I was negative on all my stuff. And I realized in that moment that was a huge part of what I was missing.
Mhm.
And then I started doing inner child work. Like they say, the subconscious is 95% compared to 5% of the conscious mind. Okay. So when you're working on your positive thinking, which I was, and at that time I said, holy blank, Dwight, I've been trying to master 5%. I was totally missing the 95%. Okay. And then, like what we were playing with earlier, I got into the emotions and energy. And those are way more powerful than the subconscious and conscious. So if you're focused on like positive thinking, like most of our society, we're so mental, it's literally just the tiniest tip of the iceberg. You're not even scratching the surface, right? And that's what I help my clients do, because you are this powerful. When you start to become an observer and you say, okay, what am I thinking right now? Okay. And then if you say, why am I thinking this? Or why am I perceiving this experience or witnessing this experience and perceiving it this way? Okay. You can start to decode that subconscious. We learn to perceive things from our parents, right? And whoever was around us, and from our early experiences. And we assign all these meanings to something, right? Eyewitness testimony in court is not reliable because you can have 5 people witness the same thing and they all see it differently. So what we have on earth is 7 billion people living 7 billion realities, right? But if you can be the observer and you can just say, okay, this just happened, and not assign any meanings or perceptions to it, right? Then you start to unravel the subconscious. And then if you really want to become powerful and align yourself with your true power, you start to become emotionally aware.
Mm.
What am I feeling right now? And if we'll use a negative emotion as an example, let's say it's anger. If I ask myself, what experiences previously in my life and early in my life might I still be holding on to anger from? Okay. And when you truly release the root of your anger, you literally won't experience anger anymore unless you try to make yourself angry. When you look at these like Zen monks, they're literally free from anger and these other emotions. Like something can happen around them, it'll make everyone else angry around them, but it won't make them angry because they don't have anger in their field. It's not because they're
Mm.
ignoring it or suppressing it. They literally don't experience it. And that's one of the most profound experiences or awarenesses I had on my healing journey, is that you can literally be free from all of these things.
I had
And
no clue that that was possible. Wow.
so I call this like self-mastery, right? There's each of the different categories. I view it as the mental, the subconscious, the emotional and energetic. And then there's a spiritual component, like what is this experience or this feeling showing me, right?
Yeah.
Because the universe is always mirroring to us what we need to see within ourselves.
Yeah. Mm. I'll tell you. So the first time I had someone ask me, this was after leaving the corporate world, but it was a business coach, right? So, but how does that feel to you? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? How does that feel to me? And learning to start making decisions based on how I felt, because that is not how I was programmed ever in the past, has been a game changer. And it's also something that if you don't keep it at your awareness, it's very easy to slip back into old habits.
We're so powerful. It's the heart that's powerful, right?
Mm.
It's the emotions and the energy that's powerful. I like to give the example, like if a mother, her child is in an accident, right? Women can lift cars off of their children. I
Yeah.
mean, they're amazingly powerful, right? And you don't think yourself into that kind of power, right? It's just raw emotion. Um, I was similar, and I view it as perfect too. And but in culturally, you're right. In the US and many other societies, especially my generation, I think, we had to be tough, you know.
Mhm.
And I played sports. My dad was a rancher, my mom was a farmer originally. So they were tough, hardworking people, right? And we did not express emotions, or at least positive emotions, in my childhood. We
Yeah.
never said, I love you. There was no emotional support, right? My parents, they tended to argue a lot. Um, it's just what it was. So I had repressed everything. I did,
Oh,
there was no way for me to express like in a communication way. I mean, I could express in the form of negative behaviors, right? I often joke I was grounded for half of my childhood. You know, but you've got to express, right?
yeah.
Somehow, some way. And um, it just takes courage, right? I'm recalling now that I was doing an event. I do numerology. I was doing numerology at this little expo thing in Phoenix. And there's this big buff guy, he's tattooed. He's looks very tough. His wife and daughter are there. And we start talking, and he brings up, he says, Dwight, my dad just died. Okay. And I didn't even take a day off work.
Mm. Mm.
I'm like, because someone's got to pay the bills. And then what he says to me is, I don't want my kids to be like this. Okay. So he's realized, right? And I'm like, well, you don't have to be like this either.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, it's scary. I'm like, what, you? I'm like this big buff guy, tatted up, I wouldn't mess with the guy. I'm like, come on, man, you can do it. And then I said to him, if you want to feel alive, right, you have to feel. It was one of those profound moments, like just hit both of us, like, you know, and it's true. If you're going through life holding back everything, and we've all been hurt, right? We've all been hurt. There's this one poem I wrote on Instagram a few years ago. It's called The Heart Wall. And it talks about like how I've been hurt, but I'm going to open up and I want to feel love like I felt the first time, right? But if you've got that wall up and you're not allowing yourself to engage at that level, you're not going to experience love again at that level, okay? Or anything else in life. So the key is we're supposed to experience and feel these things, right? Just anything negative, I don't want you to hold on to it afterward. I want you to choose to love yourself. Like I'm still not perfect, okay? I still make mistakes or stuff happens. And I'll allow myself to feel bad about it. But I'll set like a 5-minute limit on it or something like that. And like, and then I let the energy go. I can tell when it's clear, I don't have it anymore. And then my mind will try and take me back there because your mind wants to drag you through the mud. It loves making us feel bad for some reason. And this is part of self-mastery. I just say, stop, I'm not going there again. Been there, done that. And it does stop because it knows I'm serious. Because I won't go there, right? And this is just part of self-mastery. It takes practice, but it's totally possible. And some people are like, they might judge me for only feeling bad for 5 minutes, but it's like you make a mistake as a child and you're supposed to feel bad, right? It's like, what, am I not a good person if I don't keep feeling bad? How long am I supposed to feel bad? Like the rest
Yeah.
of my life? Am I supposed to carry this burden and this weight the rest of my life? And
Will you repeat what you said to that big muscle guy? Because I think that was so profound.
it was very profound in that moment too. If you want to feel alive, you have to feel.
Mm. I considered myself a neck upper. Like I made all my decisions with my brain, right? Like not from my heart. Um, Overanalyze everything. Shove stuff down, shove the emotion down. And it's a survival technique, but also when you carry it for a really long time, it hurts you in the long run. And I love that. So thank you for repeating that. Um, mm,
And a lot of spiritual people, they're aware of Joe Dispenza, right? He's kind of the rock star in this space. And he uses the heart math process for connecting to the heart.
mhm,
My last book is The Formula for Lasting Happiness. And step one is connecting to the heart. And like you
mm.
just described yourself, Amanda. I was a CPA and degree in finance, and I analyzed numbers for a living. Okay. So I was so mental, I burned my hair off, is what I like to say. All that mental energy. But if I can shift where my default is heart, I'm heart based now, anyone can do it. Okay. But there's just a basic process, which I don't know if we have time for. It takes a minute. Um, you just connect to here. And when the mind starts going, you just come back. And it's a battle. For me, it was a battle. For most people in this society, this mental paradigm we're all lived in, that the mind is everything. It's a battle, but you can shift. And if you want that intuitive guidance, that divine guidance, you got to be in your heart.
Yeah.
This is your factory installed guidance system, right? Trusting your gut, your feeling. This is your divine guidance system.
So I want to bring up something for our listeners. Obviously, this is the Corporate Detox podcast. And if you're listening to this and you're somebody that has been on the fence about where you're going next in your career, I want you to listen to what Dwight has just taken, the journey he's just taken us through, and the profound words that have come out of his mouth. Because here's the thing, our minds, the expectations of the people around us, of society, what everybody else is doing, all the shoulds in life will keep you stuck. So if you know that you're called to do something different, you're called to just make some changes, I really want you to actually feel into that. Like truly feel into it. Don't think about it, feel into it. Dwight, tell us about your books because I obviously that would be a great resource. And really, this is your time to let the listeners know where they can connect with you, and what else you have to offer.
All right. And it's a cool journey I've been on because like my last book is called The Formula for Lasting Happiness. Okay.
Love it.
Notice she's dancing.
Yeah.
I literally woke up one morning in September of 21. I had not been planning on writing a new book at that time. But I woke up that morning and I said, "Oh, you want me to write this book?" I felt like it was a yes and said, "Okay, I'll write it." And that book is The Formula for Lasting Happiness. So I literally believe it was given to me to write. Okay. This is what being heart-based and surrendered. I ask for guidance all the time. This is what's possible. Okay. The healing system I created and everything that comes through me now is very simple. The formula for lasting happiness is very simple. The healing modality I created, it's very simple. It's a deck of cards. Okay. And it's very intuitive. A child can do it. Okay. I was laying in bed at like 4:30 in the morning. I had never thought about creating a healing system. Okay. Not once, I don't think. And in 5 minutes, I had a whole healing system laying in bed in the middle of the night. Okay. This is what intuition can do for you. And some people, they're energy aware because I sell the cards at expos and things like that. And
Mm.
I've had people say, "I'm holding these cards and my hand is on fire. So I have to buy these cards." Right. And people ask me, "What did you put in these cards?" And I'm like, "I don't know." They're super basic. It's super simple, but it's feeling and it's intuition and it's asking for assistance. Okay. My book prior to that, for anyone who's curious about the journey, is called A Soul's Perspective: How to Finally Heal and Transform Your Life. Okay. This is where I talk about the subconscious because I had discovered the subconscious, as I explained earlier, and it just opened up so much for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a chapter in there that is emotions are everything. Okay. And I look back on my major life experiences and I lay it all out. And I tell you kind of how life works, which we talked a little about earlier. It's how powerful we are and how life is showing us things. These energies you push down, they don't go away. They're still, those energies are still burning within you and you're still attracting. That's all energy does is vibrate. Okay.
Mm.
So let's say you push down shame. You're going to attract experiences or witness experiences that remind you of shame. That's how the universe tells you, Amanda, you haven't dealt with shame yet. It's literally all it is. Okay. And once you deal with it, you won't experience it anymore because you got it. You graduated. Sometimes in the visualizations with clients, we've had very strong emotional experiences here, right? So I'm like, you've gotten your PhD in whatever your lessons are. So I want you to imagine all the lessons you've had, all the experiences you had in, let's say, shame or anger or whatever your flavor is. Okay. Or flavors, roll it all into one. And then I say, okay, we're going to graduate, Amanda. And then you're going to be done with that college. You don't have to go back and experience those anymore, right? And then we release it, you graduate, you choose to love yourself, and you're free from all that, okay? So there's just different ways, but we do it all to ourselves so we can undo it. This is how powerful you are.
Mm. So Dwight, do you recommend that people start out going to your website, connect with you on social? Like, what is the best way for them to kind of jump into your world today?
Everything's on my website. My 5 books are on there with links. My 5 books are all on Amazon. Everything's under my full name, Dwight Dale Miller. You can set up a Calendly with me if you want to talk. I do the one-on-one coaching. I do one-on-one healing sessions. I also have a group program. It's group coaching where I start the self-mastery, okay? The intro program's usually about 7 weeks. So I'm usually starting one of those every 3 months or so. So if you're interested in a class or anything I have on there, it's all on the website.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us. Thank you for bringing a new perspective for the listeners. Um, it's honestly been a very good part of my day and my week. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you too. I love sharing, and I'm very passionate about helping people. And so much in life is just how you perceive it, right? There's that
Yeah.
saying, when you learn to see things differently, things change, right? And your life can be very transformed very quickly.
Mm. I always say that I hope that my hope with this podcast is that it brings hope to people. I'm going to say that going forward, I hope that it brings hope and transformation because this one episode, if you open your heart to this, truly can change your life. So, Dwight, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. It's been an honor.